Sue here, coming from my pumpkin patch. I don't know if you can see. I paint pumpkins for the little sugar pumpkins up here. I think they're called sugar skulls. And I got a couple of them I'm painting. And then I paint up little bitty houses. And then I got some great big pumpkins. You're sitting on a pumpkin. I got some great big pumpkins I work on too. That great one, there's a big one out there the big one out there, I actually am painting with what they call chalkboard, and I'm going to see how well that does on pumpkins, because won't it be fun for someone to be able to just change it. And the reason I paint pumpkins is, which you would think, who has time with all the other stuff, this coming weekend is the superhero and Sundance, so it's going to be so fun to see the moms bringing their kids to do that. I've already got all the brick walls built, and I've already got that pretty well lined up. All I got to do now is just wait till the last minute, and then we go buy the food that actually, we get it already individually done. We don't actually cook the food and stuff. Although I have my certificate, food handling certificate, we don't do that because then we are putting ourselves in for a lawsuit, and we just don't want to do that. So we get them from Dylan's, little sandwiches, and then we get everything else prepackaged. Except for the kryptonite. And I always have to make kryptonite because every superhero party should have kryptonite. This year I took sugar from Mexico. Mexico has these real hard sugar lumps. They're not like us and our granulated sugar lumps that melt. These are just hard pieces of almost candy. And I just took those and I put them into green food coloring and just barely, touched them with it, and then let them dry for a couple days. And so they just made wonderful, great little pieces of kryptonite looking like stuff. Should have kept some so I could show you. Like you care. Excuse me. I'm down to about the end of my Sayers. This one here is from Mervyn Sayers. An Irish pipe. Doesn't it look like an Irish pipe? A nice Irish brogue type. I love this pipe. I took it to the beach with me. I took and loved it because I never lost it. And it's so sturdy, so much. It's just a very good pipe. It never got warm, and I was smoking like a maniac when I was at the beach. So I'm gonna have to probably load up another pipe. But I did bring Molina, and I think it's either a Molini or a Molina, and that's actually the maker's name. I think somewhere on there. It's got it. If you can read it, I know you guys are more concerned about the names than I am. What I have been, but truthfully, what I have been smoking the hell out of, and I have just, ever since I got it, I have smoked it, not continually, but a lot. This is that calabash that Bradon Daniel's made, and I hope he's going to make me another one. I kind of hinted I wanted one for another one, but you talk about a cool smoke. This thing just, I have smoked the hell out of it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you put in it. It gives you just a nice taste of it. But since I'm about empty on both of those, you can tell I've been painting this morning and drinking coffee, so that's why I'm talking so fast. So I do need to load this one up. This is some rum flake. And you see that what it says, I don't know if you guys can read it backwards or not, but it was 2012, but I opened it 5/26/18. And I almost always put that on the tin. If I open the tin, I'll put the date that I opened it on the tin, just so that I know that if it's gone for very long, I want to go ahead and put it into a jar. Because tins, although they're fun to keep, they are not what you would call the best for cellaring stuff in. Unopened tins, you can get away with it. But even then, you have to be very careful. Be sure you always, pull the tobacco in that paper, like a paper cup thing, out so that you can check underneath there. Because a lot of times, even though it doesn't look like it has pitted, when you go down to the bottom of there, you'll find that there's some rust and stuff. And as long as it's not on the paper, you're okay. But if it's absorbed into that paper, then you're going to have a little area of that tobacco that's going to have a different taste. And you kind of want to, oh no, another lecture. I'm sorry, you guys. I always have a lecture, don't I? Why do I always think everybody's more stupid than I am at smoking a pipe? I think we all think we need to teach everybody how to smoke. And everybody knows, excuse me, while I light this. This is going to take a while because this is rum flake. It's a little bit more moist than usual. And yes, I have candles and matches, so I'm going to switch over. That's kind of funny. When I'm smoking my Sayers, I don't know what it is about it, but I don't ever worry about the top of it. It just, I think because of that rustication and stuff, the match and the flame just kind of flows right away from it. So I'm always so happy when I get a good pipe. I'm always happy with a pipe. I'm only happy with a pipe. Oh no. If I'm not smoking, I'm not happy. Well, I'm usually snuffing, so that doesn't count. Am I rambling on? All right, so let's see. I showed you my pumpkins. I told you what I was smoking. 3 different pipes. When I first started smoking, I can't remember. I was on Google back then. And somebody said, well, how many pipes a day do you think you smoke? And I said, oh, probably about 12. And they called me a liar. The same guy that called me a liar about smoking that much tobacco also wanted to know who I inherited or whose pipes I had, because he couldn't believe they were my pipes. There's nothing like starting into a chat. This is back before you guys all knew me and stuff, so, you know, now it's different, but I opened up into a chat. First time I decided, well, I'll try that. It was on Google. There was a bunch of you guys talking, so I opened up into the chat. And, you know, they said, well, welcome and all that. And then the guy asked me whose pipes they were, you know, because he just couldn't believe they were my pipes. And I think I was a little bit more into showing off back then. That's been 10, 15 years ago, though. But I think I was more into showing off. And I said, they ain't my pipes. These are my pipes. And I pointed to the shelf behind me. And all along it was, you know, like 50 Dunhills. I had a different pipe case then. He didn't believe me. I don't care. What did they think? There was a 50-year-old woman showing her daddy's pipes? Oh, that took a bad turn, didn't it? Well, I don't get angry very often, but I do get kind of squirrely when people start acting like women do not have as much right to smoke a pipe as a guy does. I have noticed that the women pipers don't experience that as much now as we used to. Because now there's so few pipers, they're just thrilled to find anybody smoking a pipe. So, what I'm doing is I'm painting pumpkins. Did I do that already? I showed you my little sugar skulls. Got a couple that are finished back there. I don't know if you can see them. So I paint pumpkins. And the reason I paint pumpkins is, and this is like really right now, I have my superhero and mom party going on, so I've got that all ready to go. So I'm really like antsy. I'm just like waiting for the time to pass so I can go ahead and get that done and accomplished too. You know, one more thing off my list. I'm sorry, I just got up, you guys. It's still, I don't know, it's not yet 8 o'clock. So I came down here to paint pumpkins and to do a little bit of a video. And I know you guys are all getting tired of hearing Danny Shore. So, I'm sorry, but he's my YouTube husband, you know. You just got to listen to him. Here is the update on Danny. And I hate this. Yeah, last evening, I talked to him, you know. You guys know I talk to him all the time, but I probably won't be talking to him as much for a while. I will this week, but probably after that we'll see. he starts his second round of chemo last evening. And because they got to hook it up and he just has to sit there for a while, I guess they do it later in the day. But you got to remember, California's 2 hours different, so to me, what's evening is still just, you know, regular working hours to them. So he went and got his, this is his second round. The first round of chemo was a fairly light chemo round. They knew they were going to have to probably go in there and take that tumor. So they took and did the chemo, did the radiation, see if it had any effect on that second tumor. We know they removed the first one and the second one, and it didn't have much, it didn't do what they were wanting to do with the chemo. Gosh, I should have cleaned up my kitchen. When I look back there, that looks horrible. Oh well. Anyway, so they took he's on his second round of chemo. And I don't know if any of you guys have been through chemo or have family that's been through chemo. The second round is so hard on a person. This is going to be, you know, the first one he felt like he came through very well. He was always in good spirits. And although it did, you know, bother him a little bit, it didn't really bother him too bad. But this is the second round. And the second round, they hit you, it usually is about 4 or 5 times stronger than your first round. And this second round is going to be the round that's going to hurt him as far as mentally, physically, emotionally and stuff, because it's going to be really tough. He gets his first round was last night, and then for the next 4 or 5 days, he'll go in every evening and he'll hook up to his IV machine. And I'm sure they've got a PICC line in them already. I don't know if they put the PICC line in up here or where they put them on people. I know that when I had my chemo, my PICC line was right up through here so that they could get to it easy and everything. And then you had to flush it and stuff. So he's going to be every day this week going to go get his chemo. And then they will give him 3 weeks of it off. And then they'll check and see how it's doing, how the results are and stuff. But just be aware that for the next 3 weeks, or for the next, excuse me, for the next 3 or 4 days, he's going to be a little out of contact. And so what I have done is he had some videos of a book that he was reading, and he kind of quit posting them. He said like maybe 8 or 9 more chapters that he's read, and so that he's going to start posting them. And I said, you know, post them. He said, well, the book isn't done, and he wants someone else to read the book. And I told him, you get that book to me, and I can guarantee that I can find enough people to read chapters out of that book to finish the book for him. And so we'll see. When I said it to him yesterday, he had so much going on because he's trying to get all the last minute things done that he can do while he isn't squirrely yet. Because I don't care who you are or what you are or how strong a man you are, how strong a woman you are. The chemicals that are in that chemo, they're going to take you down. They're just going to knock you to your knees and have you begging, you know, to just ease up some. His headaches have been bad. And so what I'm doing is I'm saying, you guys, let's get those prayers going. We've got to do something. I mean, I know that some of you don't pray, and so then blow them smoke rings. I don't care, but everybody lift a pipe to Danny every day, because he's not going to be able to lift his own pipes for a while. I imagine they're gonna keep him from smoking, which will be worse than anything. But we'll see. Maybe they'll let him continue to smoke. They had me quit when I was on it, but I was only in my 20s when I had it, and it. Back then they didn't know what they were doing, so they just kept cutting on me. But at least this has become a long, boring thing. So anyway, I just kind of wanted to give you an update that Danny's going to be going through through a really tough week of chemo coming up, and we all need to be right there behind him. And even though the next, like say the next 5 days are the days that they're actually introducing the chemicals into his system, it's the couple of weeks afterwards that that your spirits are getting low. You're just wondering if it's worth it and everything. And we just need to convince Danny that this is worth it. That this, we all have that hope in us that this is going to do it for him. And let's keep our spirits up high. Although it didn't sound like mine was very high just then. I've recorded 15 minutes and of it. I meant to be fun and silly and everything like that, and show you my little pumpkins and stuff. But as a result, instead I ended up telling you about Danny, and maybe I should do a different video on that. But anyway, just letting you know that Danny's starting his hard weeks of chemo, and that everybody needs to keep him in his prayers. Remember, Pumpkin Day's coming pretty soon. Don't forget your little pumpkins. Make sure you... I find if I paint on them, they last a lot longer. And like I say, I paint them for Denny's. We have a producer here that sells produce on the corner. He's got a store, but it's on the corner. But he does sell produce, and so as a result, I paint pumpkins for him, and then in turn, he gives me pumpkins that I want, and I take and paint them, and I put little pumpkins like this. I've got a little minion I'm working on, and this one's going to become a little teddy bear and stuff, so that I leave them on the doors of all of my neighbors, because now, for many years, we had no neighbors. We had absolutely no neighbors. The people on this side of us, that house took 3 years to sell. It was a nice house, but even then, it was a grown teenage boy. I mean, we watched him go from 14 to 21 and go to the army and stuff. So, we lost him. And then the people behind us, they were a young married couple, split apart, had one baby, but, then the house sat empty for 3 or 4 years. The 3 houses over here, there's a little old lady that lives in one that you never see, but the 3 houses over here, they're vacant. They're owned by the same guy, and he's working on them, but, they're big-ass houses like mine. When you're talking about 4,000 square feet to try to redo, and all the plumbing, the problems that you got to rerun the electric. We had to rerun all of our electric here, to get it off of cable. What is it, line and cable or something? And so, then we threw in by the time you put in the insulation, you put in lights in the ceiling. When you got 18-foot ceilings, one lamp hanging down from that doesn't do you much good. So he's been working on those houses, so they've been empty. And then the house over here, it had Professor Harry and his wife in it, and they were just old, and when they would go somewhere, they would go to their grandkids' house. So we never saw any kids. Now this neighborhood is just full of kids. People across the street, they got 4 little girls. Then one house down from them, they moved in, and it was just an old couple that sold their house, and they got 2 little kids. And then next door to me is 2 little kids and 2 little stepkids that come part of the time. So sometimes there's 4, sometimes there's 2. The house behind me has 1 little baby, but they have 2 stepkids that come and visit them every weekend. So there's 3 behind us. And over here, she had 3 kids, and she got married, and then she's had her 4th little girl. So all of a sudden, going from a neighborhood where there was absolute quiet, nobody ever around, no kids ever around. Heck, we could cuss if we wanted to. Heck, my hot tub, which is outside the kitchen door and down a few steps, we very seldom had to worry about covering ourselves up in our hot tub because there was nobody around. Nobody can see. We're kind of high, and we got high fences, so we never even worried about, when we get out of the hot tub, we would sometimes not even have many clothes on. So now we've had to be a little bit more careful. They've all got curtains up. They see a bit too much of us. So it's been a lot of fun. So this year, like I say, it's going to be kind of fun because we're going to actually have trick-or-treaters. Even if we just get the ones that are right here in the neighborhood, which we never have had trick-or-treaters before. It's going to be great. So happy Halloween. If I don't see you before then, I'm sure I will be talking to you between now and then. Be sure and keep Danny's in your prayers. And sorry this video went so long, but happy, joy. I'm watching for all of you.